one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have a moment of silence and we will remember Ginny Leonard. Thank you.
Call trustee Downey.
Here.
Driscoll.
Here.
Patton.
Here.
Leonardo.
Here.
O'Brien.
Here.
And Kevin.
Haven't heard from Kevin, so
I'm
maybe
sure
he's just
Kevin,
running
he'll be
late.
here, I'm sure.
I haven't heard from him, so.
I followed him.
There you go.
Did you?
Part of the way, so I'm surprised he's not here yet.
We found him that time.
I know, I heard.
Somebody had him, you had him? He had
The
him.
one that's
Somebody
not
had
here.
him.
No, I didn't have
Ah,
him.
okay.
That's why
I
he's not
didn't
here
have
tonight.
no, I was pointing at the your empty seat.
All right.
I picked it up with my
That's
phone.
what happens when you don't show up, you get blamed for it.
Okay. Correspondence. We have a request from an Eagle Scout candidate, Reed, I hope I pronounced his last name correctly, Krobok,
Yep.
C-R-O-B-O-K. Reed would like use of the park, and what he wants to do is something called a Canapalooza concert. He wants to collect
Okay.
food and cash donations for the Hoosick Area Church Association for the food pantry. Three's Harmony will perform at this event, and he's looking to do this on Tuesday, August 5th. As far as I know, the bandstand's available. That would be in the evening.
I move that we
Ah,
allow Reed and Three's Company to use the park.
And I'll second it.
all right, Rick first, Jeremy second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. I'll let him know. Okay. An announcement that the Hoosick Rising meeting on July 22nd, which I believe is a Tuesday, will be at the Armory. There are flyers about town. They say 6:30. We're gonna try and start at 6 because a little bit later in the evening, right around 7, Hubbard Hall is doing Shakespeare in the Park. So for those folks that might wanna try and make both, we'll see if we can accommodate that. This follow-up meeting of Hoosick Rising will be concentrating on specific projects in the community. So we want to talk about particulars here, okay? So hopefully people will be able to make that. Some very good news is that, and I forgot it at the beginning of the last meeting, but just prior to last month's meeting, we were notified through the Greenway of the Hudson River Greenway that the village received a $9,500 grant that is going to be put towards the overall cost of our zoning updating. And that's just a little bit more than a third of the cost. So that's pretty nice. And we will certainly put that to good use. I was checking with them and the paperwork hasn't come through yet, but they expect it to, so we'll be getting something pretty soon on that. A couple of weeks back, I participated in a meeting in Cambridge, which the Cambridge mayor called, and it was a regional meeting. They're looking at their own economic development, their own trying to revamp and revitalize their area. And it was primarily supervisors and mayors, trustees, senators, Marchione and Little were there as well, and just talking about the Route 22 corridor. I attended, as did Mark Surdam, and it was a very good meeting. Good meeting. Again, talking about trying to do things together where it's appropriate, where it makes sense, where it's practical, not competing with one another, but again, looking at the region as a whole. They hope to get this going and keep it moving. And as I get more information, I'll certainly keep people in the loop on this. This is very timely this evening. The AC3 has requested that the Christmas tree lighting be scheduled for December 6th in the afternoon. They're going to tie it into the activities and the holiday activities that go on over at the Armory. So it's a bit early, but the schedule fills up fast.
To make a motion to table that till the November meeting. I'm not gonna end my summer quicker than it needs.
So we have a motion here from Ebenezer Scrooge. That, we're looking at December 6th.
Motion?
Second?
Okay, first was Ben, then Rick. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
I guess
opposed?
so.
All right, very good. If you've noticed, the crosswalks along 22 are wearing out. And basically, they were put in when all the major work was done a few years back. And it's my understanding that the state is responsible for keeping those up to date and being, looking good and repaired and all of that. And they wear after a while with all the trucks and the traffic. So anyway, I was able to find the name of the individual to contact, and I sent a letter. This is to New York State DOT, to the Region 1 Director, a gentleman by the name of Sam, and I want to say Zhou, I'm not sure, Zhou. And again, asking him, and I also took some photographs, asking him to take a look, because I did a little research and found out that DOT does in fact have a regular ongoing maintenance for and I'm not talking about the ones that Neil and the crew paint, but these are the ones that are kind of embedded into the street, and they do have an ongoing program to take care of that. So that letter went out, it was dated June 30th. If I don't hear anything in another week or so, I'll follow up. But we're gonna follow up on that and see if they can help us out in that area. So just to make people aware of that. And pass that around if anybody wants to take a look. Okay. Just after our last board meeting, I was contacted indirectly by the president or the director of New York State OTB regarding a letter of support for a casino in Rensselaer, in the city of Rensselaer. I polled the board, got the majority of views from everyone, and everyone did support this. Now, this is not the same casino that people have been talking about in East Greenbush. It is not the one that's next to the Girl Scouts. This is right in the city, right along the river. They have some land designated, and this is something that the city of Rensselaer would like to do. I personally have mixed feelings about it, as I think probably a lot of people do, but clearly it can be an economic boost to the area, to the county. How much of a boost that is, no one really knows, and we won't know. So anyway, based on the feedback I received from the board, I did write a letter, which I have here, and they needed this by a particular date because there was a time frame, and I think the time frame was June 30th, where they had to have all of their paperwork in. So this had gone out. And what it says is, please be advised that the Board of Trustees for the Village of Hoosick Falls support, and I'm gonna mispronounce it, Deliat's Landing Casino Project in the city of Rensselaer. The announcement of the participation of Hard Rock International in this project adds to the potential success while the benefit to the economy will be an asset to all the municipalities within Rensselaer County, as well as to surrounding counties. So I have not heard anything back. I don't expect that I will. But again, based on the board's input, this letter was sent out. And do we require a motion on that? Okay, to cover that. So, is there a motion?
Motion?
Ben?
Second.
Rick? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay. On,
Right on the river.
Couple more.
okay, yeah, got one right here too. On September 13th, local veterans organizations, Voice of a Vet and Heroes at Home, along with the American Legion, is sponsoring a Korean War Veterans Welcome Home celebration. For more details on the event, there'll be things coming out in the newspaper, and I think I've seen a couple things already around it. We also have information on the website, and we'll be putting information on the TV channel. So there'll be more coming out about that. Okay. Hmm?
This last minute, this is done.
Okay. Okay. We have a last minute request here that came in. Hoosick Falls Soccer Club is requesting the use of Wood Park to hold registration for soccer camp on Wednesdays during the band concert. So they want to take advantage of the crowd, I guess. All right, I imagine they're gonna set up a table? Okay, and that would be starting tomorrow night, I would imagine. So, is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Bobby?
Second.
Second, Bob D. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion's carried. Another late request. It came in and I was contacted by a representative of the fire department, Hoosick Falls District. And what they would like to do, and I'll read this letter to you. This was from Don McCabe. I'm working with the town of Hoosick Summer Camp Director to help fill the void when the pool closing was created. One of the options being discussed is the possibility of utilizing the fire department's ladder truck to provide a water shower on hot days. To do this, we would need to use village water. At this time, we are not sure of the schedule, but it would be 2-hour intervals or so, maybe 3 or 4 times over the course of the summer. The fire chief and commissioners are presently checking on the feasibility on their end, and I would like to see if this is something that the board would approve. Basically, what they would do is just set up a hose and a shower on, the particularly hot days. We don't have the pool this summer. And they would set that up. Obviously, if there were any issues with the water department or anything like that, we'd be able to schedule around that. In terms of this, it would be done on from one of the hydrants, and I am suggesting that we not charge for the water that we use on this, and that it just be our contribution in terms of the summer camp.
There's no liability issues on our end of it because
Not
the fire
that I-
department's doing it, correct?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And obviously, our water department would be involved in the hookup
Mhm.
and all of that. So, is there a motion?
Do they say where?
Yeah, that would be my question.
I would assume.
I would assume at the athletic field.
It's gonna be at the
somewhere,
field,
right by
yes.
the
I don't know
key.
exactly where, but at the field.
Either Griffin or Burchard, right? Because
Is there a hydrant on Bridger?
there's a hydrant on Burchard right by the entrance.
Yeah.
Or Barton, I'm sorry.
Right, but
Yeah,
that's,
Barton, yeah.
that's town athletic fields, so we
Right.
can't approve where it's gonna go. If they're gonna go on the town athletic fields, that's up to the town to approve that. We can just give our blessing that we'll let them use the water.
I was just curious.
Yeah, no, I'd be curious too, because it could be a big muddy mess, and it might affect,
Is there one across from
sports.
your house, Jeremy?
If they're gonna do it on athletic fields, it might affect the quality of fields for.
I'm actually looking forward to it.
For,
I will be the first one out
for
there.
sports.
Okay.
Big, tasty
Again,
wheat.
do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Bobby,
I'll second it.
Ryan, Jeremy, second. Any further discussion?
How many gallons of water does the pool hold? Do we know?
230,000 plus. Is that about right?
It's close. You might just wanna let the residents know around that they might get some sediment.
Right, that's what I was gonna
Okay.
ask, how will it affect water pressure for the
I mean,
local
they might-
residents and,
We did flush them a couple months back, but
Okay,
you might wanna notify any people around there.
That's a good
so
point.
we could do that. It's a very good
Yep.
point.
Once we
Sure.
get the dates.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm assuming we're not gonna use more than 230,000 gallons over the summer, right?
yeah, I really wouldn't think so.
We got
Okay.
300,000 gallons to drain anyway.
No, the only reason why I'm saying that is if we're giving it away for free, if they're using more than what we would normally use in the summer, I would be concerned
They pay
about.
for it.
Well, we can put a meter on there,
right.
so we can keep track of that. Okay,
And-
good point about though notifying people.
Right,
Yeah,
and
get it to
certainly,
word
I
out
mean,
on that.
as far as this vote goes, I'm okay with voting to give them the water, but I think we do need to have another vote when they decide where it's gonna be and when it's gonna be, so that we can make sure that we're, able to,
You definitely need some dates.
Well,
Yeah.
the summer camp, just so you know, the summer camp is already started, so,
Mm.
I mean, I don't know it only goes to the first week of August. It
Right.
only goes 3 more weeks or 4 more weeks.
See, it's
gonna be before our next board
longer
meeting.
this year. I think it goes to mid-August this
Oh,
year.
it does.
Yeah. I think they
I know
started
they're
late.
also planning trips to Grafton.
where is the camp, is it in the?
It's at the,
town
at the,
park?
it's at, no, it's at the, yeah, it's at the skating
The
rink.
rink.
The rink is where the camp is. So I assume it's
Okay,
gonna be.
I mean, as far as
So-
voting for the water, I say, yeah, give
Yeah.
them, let them use the water,
So-
and we'll let the town figure out.
Well, I'm sure the
logistics
town
of-
requested it, you know,
Okay,
I'm sure
well-
they've gone, I'm sure
Yeah.
they've
You
gone.
lost me, guys. Do we have a motion in terms of the water and allowing to do that?
I believe that's the
Yes,
motion.
that's the
on
motion
table.
I'm making.
Okay, so
Right.
we have that. We got a first and a second.
Bobby?
Yeah, I made the motion.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, just make sure we get track here. Okay. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion's carried, and what we'll do is we'll get the dates, and we'll take a look from there. And we'll use the meter so that we can track it. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay. We'll move things around here, so you threw me in
Yeah.
just a little bit. Okay. We've got some people here regarding some of the repairs that we're going to need, so I want to get into this right now. As the trustees are aware, we've been looking at a ban in terms of borrowing money regarding three totally unanticipated projects that came up this year. Robert Flores is going to talk a little bit about one of them, and that's the repair on the water tank. We have the DEC required work regarding the sewer break, and the break was fixed 3 months ago, and everything has been fine there. And we also have the requirement of a new police cruiser, which we thought we were gonna be able to get through the season, well, through the year, I should say. And it's
Sounds like it,
pretty much week by week with this particular cruiser. So what I had asked Denise to do, and she is here, I had asked her to look into what would be involved with the ban. It would involve us borrowing money. We are looking at a grand total of about $185,000. The water tank is in the neighborhood of $75,000. The police car would be about 25, because we also have 10 in the budget this year for that. And then the DEC required work, scoping and bypass and such, and there are a couple of other different ways to look at that in terms of how that could be done. We've had estimates anywhere from 25 to 85,000 on that. With the water tank repair, we need to get that done before winter, and it's gonna be about 6 to 7 weeks to get it done. So we've got a little bit of time, but not a lot, but we need to get moving on that. On the sewer issue, we put out for bids, and we had no bids received, so that means we can go for quotes. MRB is working on that, and they're gonna be following up with other contractors as well as with DEC on that. Denise, please correct me here, but what would happen is if we borrow this money, then we have this money. It's here. The percentage rate is 1.48? 1.48%. It's a very reasonable percentage rate. We would not have to make any payments for 1 year from the time that it's approved, so roughly the middle of July of next year. It would be based over 5 years. It would be a breakdown of approximately $37,000 a year plus interest. We could budget for that over a 5-year period. The good news also is that we may not need all of that money. And if we don't need all of that money, then we can prepay early without
No
a penalty.
prepayment penalty, right?
No penalty, right. Now, the other piece of that is that I've also been in touch with our state legislators, both the Senator's office, Senator Marchione, as well as Assemblyman McLaughlin, and asking whether or not there's any capital funds available. I've heard that that this year's current New York State budget includes capital money, and this is capital money, at least for the tank and for the sewer repair. I've not heard back from them, but they are working on it. Optimistic, cautiously optimistic. Again, whatever they could provide, if anything, will also be put towards that. And again, we can reduce that amount. So that's what we have before us. Denise, I'm sure I've left out most of it, so.
No, you did good.
No?
Very good.
Didn't even see my lips move, all right, okay. So the process would be, Denise, if you wouldn't mind just going over the process?
There's a ban resolution that needs to be passed tonight that is just in the resolution form, authorizing the issuance of $185,000 in serial bonds. Number one, to assist in the financing of the cost of a 2013 Ford Police Interceptor sedan all-wheel drive or similar, to finance the emergency planning, design, and repair or replacement of the Force Main sewer line along Pan Am Railways as mandated by DEC. And thirdly, to finance the emergency planning, design, and repair work to the water holding tank on Rogers Avenue. So we would need a first and a second. Paperwork is signed the note will actually be dated on July 10th, so that will be when our first payment is due next year,
Okay.
July 10th.
And John, in terms of attorney review on this?
Yeah, I were taking a look at it, and this is appropriate. I'm also required to do a opinion of counsel, and I've already done that, saying that this would be already predicated on the board's decision to go forward.
Okay, okay. So again, what this would do is give us the flexibility to go ahead and make these repairs, get this done. If funds come through, if we don't need to spend as much, we can repay that, and without really delving into our general funds as such, and not going too close to the bone, if you will. Okay?
And money is borrowed from Key Bank, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So, is there a motion?
Motion?
Ben?
Second.
Second.
Can
Bob?
I ask a question?
Yep, let me just get the second,
Yeah.
Jeremy, second. Okay, further discussion?
What cars are we replacing, Bob?
It would be the unmarked 50.
The one that you drive?
Right.
And that we'll just have 3 cop cars?
Yes.
That's all we need?
I could always say we need more, but
No,
we'll
but
survive.
I'm just saying.
We'll survive.
Yeah, we're not adding.
I'm not adding,
No.
that's why I
Right.
don't wanna add, and I know you need a cop car, but
No, we're gonna, the
I
501,
understand.
the unmarked car
I
right now
understand.
is, we picked
But
that up.
I have an issue. I watch some of these officers drive these vehicles, and I hate to say it, they do abuse them. And I've seen it day in and day out, and people come to me and complain about it. And that's the only thing that I feel, but I'm gonna vote on it, and I'm gonna let you get it, but I'm just gonna say, I feel that way, and
And I
I'm
will-
gonna keep
and I will
watching.
address- I will
I'm gonna
address
keep
those
watching
concerns.
these guys, and every time I'm just gonna grit my teeth, because I'm very unhappy with them.
You need to call me.
No, I won't call you, because nothing gets done.
That's not,
I'm sorry,
okay.
I've had it with it, but go ahead, finish up.
Any further discussion?
What year is the car it's replacing?
205.
And what kind of mileage does that thing have?
That one we bought that used, and it's got about 80,000 miles on it, but when we bought it used, obviously we bought it with problems, I guess. We purchased it at the time for $5,000, so it's paid for itself. And we've had it for, I think, 3 years now, 4 years, but it's starting to catch up with the mileage.
So what happens now? Do we trade that in? Do we auction that off?
We would auction that
Auction
off.
it off.
We'll auction it off.
And you said Denise, you said 2013, or is that what it is, or 14, or?
We should, yes, we're looking at the 2013, but the price difference on if we have to go to 214 isn't all that much. So
Okay.
we're still within our budget.
And is this car gonna have to be outfitted after that, or is it
It
gonna
comes
be ready to go?
completely outfitted. We purchase it completely outfitted with the exception of the radio. But the new radios, in which we're gonna talk about later
Yeah.
on, they're getting brand new radios in all the cars that are being paid for by a grant.
From the county, right?
That we got from the county, so there'll be no cost for that.
Any further discussion? I'm sorry, was there more?
I'm satisfied.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Do we have to do a roll call on this? It's a resolution?
Got it.
Yep.
Made the motion.
I did.
Ben?
Second.
Oh,
by
Ben
Jeremy.
and Jeremy, all right. Bob?
Yes.
Yes.
Rick?
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, that is carried. Thank you. Treasurer's report. Denise, while we got you.
Fiscal year end, May 31st. I'd say it's about 98% complete. Things always get tweaked a little bit in the process of doing the annual financial report. But we have a pretty good picture right now of how things stand. In the general fund, we had budgeted to use $89,251 of fund balance. We went a little bit over that. I'm gonna say ballpark is that we needed another $23,000. That was mostly due to the snowy, long, cold winter and the excessive electric bills. So
And I just wanna say it was not excessive electric usage.
Right,
No.
no, the rates.
It was the rates that just, Okay.
Everywhere does quadruple. The water and the sewer fund, however, did end up much better. We had slated in the budget to use fund balances from both funds and didn't need to. And actually, that has a lot to do with the fact that the water usage was a little higher than anticipated. And we still have a lot of revenue coming in from approximately 35 customers that have yet still not installed meters. And those fines can be kind of hefty.
mhm,
So that was unanticipated revenue also in the water fund. So we actually had a surplus in the water of 112,000. So that was very, very good. Sewer fund had a surplus of 60,000. We did not need to use anything that was budgeted. Sewer is driven on the water usage, which is why the sewer was up as well. Overall, we're in
okay,
good shape.
okay.
Denise, I'm sorry, what did you say we went over in the general fund?
About 23,000.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and just, very briefly on the current,
Current year, we're good. Of course, we're only 1 year
I
into
know,
it.
yeah, 1 month.
Or
yeah.
1 year, 1 year.
Things are good.
Feels-
Things are long.
feels like a year.
The percentages are right on track where they should be. A few of them are a little bit, we bought some new tax software, which was a little over what we thought the budget was gonna be, so that's just gonna be taken out of a different line. But other than that, everything's right where it should be.
Okay,
Not much activity yet besides property tax, so.
all right. On the treasurer's report, is there a motion?
Motion.
Bob?
Second.
Bobby, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion's carried, thank you. We have the minutes for May and June. Everybody's had an opportunity to take a look at those. And we are caught up in the minutes, which is a good thing. So, is there a motion to accept?
So moved?
Rick, is there a second?
Second?
Second, Ben, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion's carried, thank you. Okay. Keep-
Yeah, this week. Sorry.
Nope. People to be heard. If you would just give your name and your address, please, just for the record.
Christine McClett, 24 2nd Street, Hoosick Falls, New York. I'm here on behalf of a few people that have complained to me. And it's about houses on the beginning of 3rd Street, 45 River and 2nd, 3rd. About the commotions that have been going on and violations and people that have been going in and out of there. The house that is on 45 River, it has many violations. I know that the building inspector was there the other day. I know that the fire department was called in. And what the neighbors that have been complaining to me about is that they would like to know what's gonna happen further from this time forward. Now that the inspector has been there, the fire department has been there. If the tenants can't be accounted for by the landlord, if the landlord can't be accounted for, what is the village gonna further do? And how is it going to, be rectified? Because people's houses are being vandalized now, their property. I have Lorene here, who is one of the people who live there. Huh?
Live near.
Live near. Her property has been vandalized, and it's not fair. There's a lot of drugs that have gone in and out, and we just wanna know what's going on. If that can't be helped, maybe we can initialize another neighborhood watch, which
Okay.
would be wonderful. I mean, what do we do to get it started again? Is there a special way? Do we have to get a petition up to get so many names on it? You know, do we have to have so many people? I mean, it would be wonderful. I've heard some people from the rescue squad that would like to join it, because I've been talking about it again, because
Okay.
people still come to me, because they don't wanna go to the police. They don't wanna call them up. So they'll come to me, and I'll have to come down, or I'll have to talk to somebody. And it's like, I just assume have a neighborhood watch. I mean, that's basically what it is.
Okay.
Things just need to be followed through, and I hope the village follows through, especially with this fire hazard that's 45 River, because, and the drugs that are going in and out on 2nd, 3rd Street. And it's
Okay.
not the only two places. There's
That's
a
a corner
lot
of,
of them.
the corner of.
Is that the old Murphy store? Is
Yeah,
that the, okay.
it's the old Murphy store, and then it's 2nd,
Mhm.
3rd Street. You
Okay.
know, I mean, there's just so much going on. I mean, children are being given pills to pass it off to the adults. I mean, you see it, and it's just getting bad, real bad.
Okay. Number one, thank you very much for bringing that up tonight. It's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's
And
not.
thank you for coming as well. Without getting into detail in terms of what's being done when you talk about drugs and things like that, okay? The village is very aware of those kinds of situations. And I think the chief can address some of that, and he will. One thing I have to say to you though, please have people notify the police.
And it's been done.
Okay.
Many times.
But it bothers me when you say, you know, they're not gonna call the police, they're not gonna, they
Oh,
need
there's-
to call the police. Now, I expected the code enforcement officer to be here this evening, so I'm surprised that he's not. So I can't give you the detail,
Right.
but I will have him get in touch with you, okay, to bring you up to speed. I can tell you that overall, he has a number of cases that are coming before the court. There's a process that has to follow. I wish it was quick. It isn't, but we do follow it. So we are bringing people into court. And again, there's a great deal going on in the background in terms of criminal investigations. Last year, we brought a dog into the police force, a drug-sniffing dog. We recognize what's going on. We recognize that we're part of the 22 corridor where people come in and move. We want to make it as uncomfortable for this kind of a situation as possible. So we're going to be doing a number of things. I think the idea about a neighborhood watch is terrific. I think anything that we can do,
I
we
would
need
love-
to do
I
that.
mean, if you know how to get it started, or point me in the direction to get it started.
Well, we'll
I mean,
find
so
out.
we can have the signs put up, and, you know, I would love it.
I mean, that would be
I
great,
mean-
and we'll be talking to you about that. Chief, could you just talk a little bit about,
I met with both of them prior to the meeting.
oh, okay, all right.
Both of them provided my cell phone number to me, and we spoke about the importance of calling us.
Yes.
And whether it's minor or not, you need to pick up the phone. You indicated there were some plants that were damaged. You didn't wanna call, you didn't think it was that important. It is important. To let us know, there'll be a paper trail started per se, okay, with that. In the past, there's been arrests made there for drugs, and those drug arrests have started here, and we worked all the way to the city of Troy with them, right? Unfortunately, you take one out, sometimes they come back.
And that's a landlord issue,
Landlord that.
hence us being here.
But that, correct me if I'm wrong, the more calls to the police department that are generated, the more it applies the nuisance law. which
Particularly
holds
with
the
landlord.
And I would also like to mention, please, call the police if there's an issue,
Right.
but the second opportunity you have to do that, we do have a nuisance, complaint form on the village website. You can fill out a nuisance complaint form, hit send, and it will come here, and it will go to the appropriate people. But it also gives us a paper trail that so many nuisance complaint forms have been submitted, so many police calls have come in. So even if you call the police, file a nuisance complaint form as well.
I've been living next to that monstrosity for a year and a half. I have watched people go in and out, move in and out, whether they be heroin addict, druggie, whatever. I can guarantee it, there's not one certificate of occupancy. Guarantee it. They just moved all those people around in that house. I straight up asked one of them. This is being allowed by the village. Everybody knows about this house. Everybody knows about these landlords. My question is, why are they continually getting away with this? And now, as an unfortunate being in the vicinity
Neighbor, yeah.
of, we just keep having to put up with it. Garbage, as soon as it rains, goes all the way down the street. The landlords, I used to landlord, are responsible. And they are not being held that way. Like I said, a year and a half I've been here now. And everybody knows what house I'm talking about, don't we? You know, no surprise. So the question becomes, what are you guys gonna do about it if you know they're violating your laws? And they're getting away with it.
Well, let me just respond to that. Okay, it's not what are we guys gonna do about it, it's what's our community gonna do about it, okay? You've stepped forward and you've said you'd like to get involved, and you obviously have been involved. That's a big piece of it. Our police department is extremely involved, as is our code enforcement. Now, these situations do take some time. Again, the code enforcement officer's not here tonight, so I can't answer your question intelligently, because I don't have that information. But I can tell you, we have a number of people that are being brought before the courts. Rick mentioned the nuisance complaint forms. Every time one of those forms is filled out, it generates points. Now, this may sound kind of hokey, but the more points under the law that we have, then the judge is able to revoke a certificate of occupancy when it hits a certain level. Thank you. And for different issues that come up, there are different point systems. So we're working on that. We are working with the local banks, and well, it wasn't the local banks. We're working with banks who own a lot of these properties, and we are trying to get them to come up to their own responsibility and do what needs to be done. And we are also working with landlords. One of our trustees had a meeting in the general area not too long ago, talking about those kinds of situations and other situations. We're trying to get our landlords to cooperate wherever they can, and if they're not able to, then we're gonna bring them into court. So we're gonna definitely pursue that. It's extremely frustrating for everybody involved, and again, it's an extremely slow process. We need to change some things to speed that up. And we also need to be able to make the community aware that we're not gonna stand for it. We're gonna do everything that's legally appropriate for us to do and go forward. Again, if you can complement that with a neighborhood watch or other kinds of things, I am sure that, you know, we would be willing to meet with you, with the police department, with code enforcement, to really develop a plan on which way to go with this.
I think the neighborhood watch would also take, for instance, the call I don't wanna call you for because it seems petty, but my gardens were vandalized. I don't wanna, what's he gonna do? I didn't see who did it, I think I know who did it, but I don't wanna call him and waste their time.
Okay.
On broken plants and lawn.
But listen to what the chief is saying.
But a neighborhood watch might ease that on you.
Let me just do a couple quick things. The neighborhood watch, that can be done immediately, that's no problem. We'll schedule a meeting with you and your neighbors. I can do it next Sunday, I can do it tomorrow, whatever, that's a simple thing to do, okay? What I would suggest in the neighborhood watch is if you can gather around your neighbors, pick a day when it's gonna be, myself, I'll be there, along with a couple of the other officers. We'll sit with you and we'll talk about the neighborhood watch, what your role would be, what our role would be, what the village role would be, and how we can assist with that. Okay? The second thing is, and as I said, that's a simple thing. We can do that as quick as you do your part by organizing people. Then you got my cell phone numbers, you can call me. The second thing is, just a little brief history here on that particular house next to you. We've made 3 arrests out of that. 1 was a drug arrest, 2 of them have been assault arrests. So 3 people that are living in those apartments have been arrested at different times. On the other house, we've made 2 arrests out of that house, okay, of different reasons. So some of them deal with child protective cases, some of them deal with just other issues. But a lot of those arrests were based off of people calling, okay? You've talked to neighbors, some of those neighbors have taken the initiative and have called. and they've called in the past, and based off the information that they provided to us, we were able to do something about it. We have beefed up the patrols in that area. I talked to Dave, about a month ago. I noticed there was a problem developing with people hanging outside late at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, it seems like the door opens up and people were falling out. I've spoken to the officers, and I've set up the patrol there, and stopping there and moving them on their way, okay? I'm sure that the village may start receiving some complaints from those residents saying they're being moved out of the way, and whether it's fair or not. So we are stepping it up in that way, okay? So those are two of the things. We talked about a landlord on Fifth Street last week. We had a complaint that was made. An individual was being harassed by a neighbor from an apartment. We immediately responded. We spoke to the neighbors, understood that there was gonna be a problem here with some intoxication. I made a quick call to the landlord. The landlord came down, a representative came down that night, met me here at, I think it was like 10 o'clock at night, started the proceedings the next day for a while, based on their attitude toward the police and the other neighbors in the area. So I think we're moving along, and the village board has done a great job on trying to move to create this new connection with the landlords. And the landlords are starting to get the understanding here, and they are starting to work with us. And this particular landlord, anyway, did, and it showed that it was moving on. So a line of communications, keeping it open, and I think we're not gonna take away all your problems, but I think we're gonna be able to put a good dent in it. So we can start with the neighborhood watch, and please, I'll anticipate the call. You can call me on my cell phone, we organize, it's easier to get a hold of me on that. And you can call me, don't worry about it, it rings all hours of the night, so don't hesitate on calling me. And if you get a problem, or you think that an officer doesn't handle it properly, give me a call too, and I'll address it immediately.
And as far as a nuisance complaint form on the village website, I can understand there's certain things where you don't wanna call the police, cause it seems like it's not really a crime on the level that you feel you need to call the police, but that's what the nuisance complaint forms are for. If they're, not cleaning up their garbage on the sidewalk, let us know, because that's a code enforcement issue. So those kind of things we'll address through the nuisance complaint forms.
I would imagine that the building inspector being there the last day or two saw what needed to be seen.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully.
All right, no, we'll definitely check with him on that.
Well, cause now I'm concerned about fire hazard.
Sure.
They've got electric crap hanging out the windows and stuff, so I'm very concerned, and I don't like to hear that it's a slow process, cause their house is this far away from mine, so.
Right.
It's a slow process in terms of getting it to change from there to here. If there are electrical wires hanging out the window, code enforcement can do something about that immediately. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yep, no. Okay.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for bringing that up. And we have your names, and we'll be talking, and we'll go again.
Christine, have you touched base with Mary Bradley at all? About,
No.
because she's the one who organized, her and Steve organized the neighborhood watch previously we had in the second ward.
Oh.
So, just food for
Mary
thought.
Bradley?
Yeah, Mary, used to be Mary Cartnard
Oh, okay.
on Hoosick Street. Just so you know, she's the one who did, when we organized the neighborhood watch previously, that she's the one who
Okay.
orchestrated it, starting it. So,
Is there a certain number
just
of
you wanna reach out to her.
people to be involved to start the watch, or?
If just two of you wanna be there, that's fine. Okay.
I know there's
Whether
a couple
one or
of,
two, it doesn't
couple of
matter.
people from the rescue squad are interested too.
I think if you promoted it, I think you'd be surprised how many people are willing to join in once you do it
Yeah.
behind the scenes, because it's not really out in the public like this is. It's a private meeting, and I think that, I know, when we did it last time, we had quite a response, and it did work previously, so.
Yeah, I would really
We
like
meet
to.
with the senior citizens, at least 3 times a year, okay, and we meet on Sundays up there and just talk about different issues and concerns that they have. So, again, it's the communications part of it.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised of the people that may show up there that have already communicated with us as well, so.
Okay, thank you.
Please, I have a question. The house next door to me, Griffin Avenue there, I've called on that guy that lives downstairs. And he apparently has a job now, and he leaves his house from 10 in the morning, sometimes 10:30 until after midnight. He has 2 Dobermans that he keeps locked up inside that house all day long.
The problem that we have with that, ma'am, is what is he doing? And don't take this wrong, what's the violation that he's committing? I know we've dealt with this issue.
Well, it's cruelty to animals.
I understand that, but is it cruelty? Is he got food, has he got water? Are the animals being taken care of on a daily basis? Those are things that, you know, have to be looked at. We did have a case in front of the judge, where there was an individual who was leaving the dogs inside the home like that, and it had access to go out, but it was barking all the time. And there's very little we could do at that particular
You
time.
just have no
because-
access to that, and there's no doors open at all.
Well, that's something that, again, we'll probably turn it over to the dog warden, the dog warden, and then investigate. For us just to go up and open up the door and go in, then we can't do that, obviously. So to speak to the
Why would
residents
you
there.
get in there anyways? I think it has to rig.
He's got a rig.
Well, I think that he has a special law, you know.
But I'm sure those calls were turned over to the dog warden, and I'll check with the dog warden to see what they.
I know that I could call Carol on it, so easily.
I'll look at
I
it.
said something about it.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Robert, we're gonna bring you up under people to be heard.
Okay. As you guys, we talked last month and talked a little while ago, Rogers Avenue tank, just in case people don't know, it's your primary water supply storage tank. It's a concrete tank, it's about 330,000 gallons, and it's got quite a few leaks, cracks. It's got somewhere in the just shy of about 50 cracks that we counted, and they're in the neighborhood of about 4 feet long. And some of them are pretty substantial, with continuous water flowing out of them. So as we recommend to the board, to the mayor, that it needs to be fixed before winter if we don't want to have a major problem. So we've been moving ahead under emergency conditions. We solicited quotes from contractors. We got 2 quotes back, and we were recommending that you award it to Groutech. And the repairs would involve draining the tank so that we could fix the cracks properly from the inside, and then line the entire floor and walls, and put the tank back in service. So it's all cementitious concrete repairs.
And the time frame on it, Robert?
The way I wrote an agreement up for the board to consider, and I have him completing the work October 1st. And then what we call substantial completion, which means you have beneficial use of the tank again, meaning the tank is back in service. There might be some paperwork afterwards.
And roughly when would they be starting?
I talked to the contractor on Monday, and right now his work schedule is not that busy, so with 2 weeks, if you give him notice today, he could start in 2 weeks. Now, we're not sure that the water department's ready for him to start in 2 weeks, so that's another thing I have to work with Jim and make sure that we're ready for him. Because we've got to make sure that the water system can operate without the tank for, those approximately 2 months, right? We're talking the month of September, month of August, for all intents and purposes. We have to isolate it, make sure that the system works. Water department has to drain the tank.
Okay.
And what was that quote amount?
The contract amount, which includes 2 quotes, which is fixing it from the inside, fixing it from the outside. The dollar amount adds up to $49,758.30. There's some fluctuation in that, obviously we know what the size of the tank is, so that part is fixed in terms of lining. The only thing that could fluctuate would be the injection to fix the major cracks. So right now, there's a number being carried, $68 a foot, in case there's more cracks than what we see from the outside.
Might be added cost, okay.
Josh, is there any way to anticipate what the residents who were serviced by that tank are gonna?
The residents are
deal with?
fine below it. The only thing that we need to figure out is Ashley Drive, the houses above it, because they feed off that booster pump station. So we need to figure out a way, I mean, there should be a way. I'm not really familiar with the
Can we
schematics
do that
of
in
the
2
systems.
weeks?
Hmm?
Can we figure out a solution in 2 weeks?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I know that we have paperwork. I mean, I'm not familiar with the schematics, but there should be a way to bypass the tank altogether to feed them, like 11 residents, I think 11 or 12 houses.
With significant, with
Enough
sufficient
pressure.
pressure?
They'll have pressure, oh yeah.
Okay.
But,
Same as they have now.
yeah.
Okay. The only the thing I'm trying to avoid is people asking for a break on their water bill because they didn't get the service that they.
No, Rogers Ave and Griffin,
We'll do it
that whole
before.
side below the tank will be totally fine. They'll
Okay.
be supplied regularly.
Okay. Any other questions for Robert?
So I printed it out in triplicate for you to, the agreement that was emailed around.
So once it's done, there's any kind of a warranty?
There's, 1 year, well, standard is, 1 year warranty on workmanship, so that part would stay. We would inspect the work as it's done. So if, for example, something, when we empty the tank, we discover something, that'll be a situation that could arise, but if it's fixed to our satisfaction and it's put in service and something, starts leaking again that was already fixed, that would be warranty work. But if it's, something totally different than the work that he did, that'd be a case by case.
And when we first talked about this, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, but when we first talked about this, looking at this option for the interior repair,
Yeah.
you had indicated that again, and no crystal ball, but that the average life of that tank minimally would be 10 years after that.
That's right. I mean, there's a couple critical thresholds here. It's a capital expense. In order for it to be capital, it's gotta be extended period amount of time. We're more than comfortable saying it's at least 10 years life, the fix that we're talking about here. Again, like I said, no crystal ball, but, it's not a patch, it's a fix.
Okay.
My question, Robert, is 10 years from now, do we do it again, or should we start to be looking at financing a replacement?
Well, that's a tough question, because we talked about it a little bit before. The replacement of a tank of this size is in the neighborhood of $500,000-$600,000, right? So, do you wanna plan for that? This tank isn't gonna last you another 50 years, right? I don't know if it's gonna last you another 30 years. So, but we wanna make these fixes, it's gonna last you 10 years at least.
Right, we can't say if 10 years from now we can fix it again.
Depends on how bad it gets, the damages in 10 years.
There's several things that are at play here, and this is part of the evaluation we did. It's a concrete tank, so it's got reinforcement, whatnot, right? So if we felt the reinforcement was compromised, then fixing cracks isn't what you need to do. You need to replace the tank. So we've determined that that's not the case, right? So if in 10 years from now you've got compromised structural reinforcement walls, then you gotta replace the tank, there's no questions. 10 years from now you might sprung a couple minor leaks, which again could be fixed with injection grout.
Okay. Well, thank you, Robert. We have Robert's summary in terms of what needs to be done for the repair work. We have a contract here. Is there a motion to go forward?
Motion?
Ben?
Second?
Rick? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion's carried. These, 'cause I have to sign all three of them. Okay, thank you, Robert.
Yep.
Other people to be heard? Yes.
Is there any reason
Would you
why-
just mind stating
Sure.
name and address, please?
Taxpayer.
Taxpayer, but what's your address, Keith?
Gillespie Street.
Thank you.
Is there any reason why my FOIL requests are taking so long to be answered?
Well, we get to them as quickly as we possibly can. It's a
February's
workload
not
issue.
quick.
What's that?
February's not quick.
No, but you did get a response, and it took longer than we thought, but we're working on it, and we'll do the best that we can do with the resources that we have.
Okay, I'm just still wondering if I can have the canceled checks for HAYC3. I put in another FOIL request actually, the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got those today.
Okay. Question for Bob. Bob, you never elaborated, who actually called you to respond to, the Bugby's house? Can you just elaborate?
Harold came
Harold
in,
called
I was in an interview. Harold came in and told me the situation.
So who called Harold?
I'm not quite sure.
Okay. So is this common practice for the village PD to respond to residents' homes outside of the village? For what reason? I mean, I don't know why the village PD would respond to Mr. Bugby's house. There's gotta be a reason, right? I mean,
There was a request for some concern, and they felt that we were gonna be there quicker than the state police or sheriffs.
and what was the concern?
Well, I think that's a
Yes.
topic that should be taken
No, I'm a
privately.
taxpayer and.
Yes, you are, and you live on
I
Gillespie
just-
Street, if I recall.
I do, absolutely. So I was just wondering, I mean, what was the concern?
And I appreciate that, but at this point in time, that's not something we're going to get into in a public discussion. If you wanna talk to the chief about that, you can certainly do that.
I think I'm talking to the chief right now.
Right, but not in a public forum.
Why, does it make the board look bad that the village PD is responding to a resident
Keith,
in
I'll
the
be more
town?
than happy to discuss it. I have no qualms with that.
Do you have anything else?
No, I guess that's about it.
Thank you. Anyone else to be heard? Okay, police report.
The month of, between June 5th and July 8th, there's 108 calls answered. Other requests, meaning property damage, escorts, lockouts, hang-ups, 911 hang-ups. 24 open doors, 6 traffic arrests, to include DWIs, unregistered. Suspended registration, suspended insurance was 2. 11 domestic complaints, 1 in danger and welfare check. There was 5 neighbor disputes, 2 burglaries, 26 EMS fire calls, 9 harassments, 6 investigations, 1 criminal mischief. There is 1 rape investigation going on, along with 1 sex registry, and I'll just highlight a little bit on that. Those sex registries were updating our registry here. There are some people that have to come in on a yearly basis to be photographed, as well as change of address, and that's what comes into play there, as well as when people call. One of those individuals were found not to have done it. We've checked our data bank with the state, so we're updating that. 1 assault, 1 warrant arrest, 1 animal complaint, 2 fraud case, 6 80 cases outside the village. Arrests for 1 order of protection violation, it was a felony. There was 1 criminal possession of stolen property, grand larceny, 4th criminal trespass, 1 DWI, 2 mental health, 1 unlawful imprisonment, 1 assault. We issued 34 traffic tickets and 5 accident reports. The department did receive its grant, it's approximately $50,000 to $60,000. The radios, new updated radios, I've got 2 people in training right now. They're pretty sophisticated with the use of the radios, and how we have to program, et cetera, et cetera. That will be completed in 2 days. Hopefully by next week, we'll have 13 portable radios, and then probably within a month, all the mobile units will be replaced, and this is at no cost to the village. These radios are, the portables themselves, we'll be able to talk to Skodak PD, we'll be able to talk to Albany PD, just by the portables alone. The mobile units obviously will be able to do the same. So it's a major benefit to the village, and at no cost. I mean, we had to purchase a computer that we needed to download the hardware for the radios.
Did you say there's 2 people in training on that?
Yes.
Are they going to train everyone else?
Once they're done with the training, they'll be coming back. They have to train the officers, and the reason for that is they're pretty sophisticated radios. You're going to have a number of different frequencies within them, and there's just little different things that have to be learned. and more importantly, on how to upkeep and maintain the radios as well. Other than that, we are gonna start, hopefully tonight, around 11 o'clock, we're gonna start the repairs that we've been authorized to do. The guys have got together to agree to do it all, so a lot of the work that's gonna be done, if not all of it, the officers are gonna be doing it, painting, installing new floors, new ceilings, et cetera. So we're gonna be doing that overtime, the girls, and we're gonna be using the truck out in the back and to load up some of the garbage on there so we can get it to the transfer station. So apologize if there's gonna be a little bit of a mess out down the side. We'll try to keep it as neat as we possibly can.
Well, there's a arrest in the paper today. Was that individual arrested twice for the same exact thing?
That was a probation. Are we talking about the sex offender?
Choking?
Yes. Are we talking about the ones the sheriff's made?
It was in it was online today on the Times Union about an individual from Hoosick Falls that was arrested.
That wasn't within the village.
No,
No.
it said Hoosick Falls in the.
There was one that was inside the village. It was made by probation
I
in
saw
our
that.
department.
Yeah, that was a different one.
And I don't know how the sheriff's department got involved in it, but they got involved in it somehow. But we made the arrest for probation, one of the sex offenders actually.
Yeah,
But
this
the
was a
choking
different-
incident was, I think he lived in Hoosick Falls, but the arrest wasn't made in Hoosick Falls.
Okay.
I think I read the article that said it wasn't one of ours.
Well,
Okay.
the other thing was at Rogers Avenue. I know a neighbor complained about the speed and that there's a rise in the middle of Rogers where people go fast and there's quite a few kids that live in that area. I know the speed limit sign went up for 20 miles an hour, but it's really not helping. I know they had an officer there one day. Is that gonna be something that happens once in a while?
I'm not gonna leave it there at a specific time of the day all the time with the officers. On that one day, we were up there and they are varying their hours and when they're gonna be there at the right hours. They're not gonna be there, obviously, 2 o'clock in the morning, but they're gonna be there at different hours of the day and different days.
Yeah. I think the only way they'll get the message is when they see the officers here once in a while.
I met with that lady that came in here, and she was new to the neighborhood. She moved up here to get away from the cities, and she kinda indicated a lot of it was the young kids that live in that particular neighborhood as well. So
Still think she's
somehow,
driving.
and I think I spoke to her about contacting you, or going on Facebook and just putting not Facebook, but on the website, you know,
right.
about safety and driving in the neighborhoods and such. So hopefully we're gonna get the message out to our locals without having to come in front of the judge.
There's yahoos in every neighborhood. Come through mine too, you know, unfortunately.
Bob, with the car, how soon do we anticipate getting the new vehicle?
Hopefully, if I'm not mistaken, as soon as, if we've been authorized to do it, we pretty much have done the research on it. I'm hoping by the end of the week, we'll finalize where, the exact vehicle.
Mhm.
And then we'll put the order in after we double check with Dave with the numbers.
Okay.
So it usually can take anywhere between 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
So we're gonna get through the summer with what we've got.
All right, that's what I was curious, okay.
We'll be all right with that.
Now, up on Rogers, we put in no parking near that rise, correct?
No.
Did we? I know we had a discussion about
We
putting
voted
it
it down.
similar to Wilder Avenue where there's no parking at the rise, so it doesn't get narrow there.
Well, nobody's parking there anymore, so,
No.
except on rare occasions.
Okay.
So that's not the issue. It's just the rise. It's a blind spot.
Right, yeah, exactly.
You can't see the other side of the hill
Right.
until
I would
you're
say the
on top of
majority
it.
of the issues here that she explained to me was about some local kids and their friends and jumping in the car and coming down, and sometimes it sounds worse than what it is, and I'm not saying they're not speeding,
Yeah.
but when the kids, you know, they're hitting that car with the muffler
Yeah.
not being where it properly should be, and they're coming down, it sounds like they're doing a little bit more quicker.
Yeah.
And that particular night that the officer went up there, that's one of the things that he noted was, it sounds it, but in reality it isn't. That's not
Did he-
saying that they're not going to,
Right.
it's just saying that,
The night he was there, did he have anybody exceeding the speed limit or no? Okay.
you know.
He wasn't there that long, though. He had to go do court duty that night,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, anything else, Chief?
Thanks, Bob.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Does anyone have the code enforcement report?
No.
Again, I don't know why he's not here, so we'll have to hold on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Property sales? We had one.
Well, yeah, there's a lot that come through that I just haven't had time to change them.
So there are more pending?
Yeah, and 2 calls today on possible sales.
Okay, so property continues to move. All right, good.
And the WCW building is free to be marketed now?
It is, I think don't we have that on
Did I
here?
mention that?
No, but I will, when we get into that.
Okay.
All right. Committee reports? Bob?
Just an update on the warehouse, it's doing pretty good. He's working with a vendor on latex paint. By fall or first of the year, he's gonna try to get it so we can collect it and take it to the warehouse. And fluorescent lights like these, we're gonna eventually do that too, so about the same time, everything will come together, so everything will be going to the warehouse. If you want old bulbs like this or latex paint.
So do things have to go to the warehouse, or can they go to our transfer station and then they're taken to the warehouse?
That I'll have to find out, but that's a good idea if we can do it that way. And if they can come pick them up, or we can, somebody take some down to them. But we don't have a truck anymore, so,
They're not doing that now?
no, not yet. Fall or the first of the year. He's working with a vendor right now, so get everything together, so it's legal. And for this paint business, it's kinda hard. It's just latex paint, it's not oil-based paint, we can't do that. It's a hazardous, oil-based is, so they still have those cleanup days, certain times, so. And our clothing box, he gave us a check for $13.72, which is so-so, so.
Hmm. Is it not being used, or?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a bad location, we put it inside, or,
Okay. Okay, well, we'll
cause
have to
there's other
track it.
ones like up the street, there's one by the church, and,
Is it trash around it?
did what?
Up by the church?
They
is it-
throwing trash in it, are they?
Well, no, but down at the Grand Union, you know, remember
Yeah.
they had
Yeah, I
furniture
don't
and
remember that,
mattresses.
but the
Yeah,
church is
but
doing,
this is
they're doing
inside.
well up in their parking lot, there's no trash.
Oh,
or
in their
anything.
parking lot?
Yeah, they're in their parking
Wow.
lot, they're doing well, there's no trash or anything
Yeah.
like that, it's monitored, but, other than that,
Bob, what are their hours now?
what's that?
At the warehouse, what are their hours? Do you have that?
Yep, Thursday 11 to 7, Friday 9 to 5, and Saturdays 9 to 4.
Thank you.
My only question, I know we don't have to worry about it for, for any holidays in the near future, but
But they did come around. There's
the
only-
4th of July week, yeah,
They
with
did.
the communicate, and the
There's only
picking
two,
up.
he says there's only 2 holidays, that's Christmas and New Year's, so.
Right.
Okay, all right.
If you
'cause
looked at your calendar, it would have told you on your calendar. Did you get a calendar?
The salary, yeah, it's not on there.
Okay, it'll tell you to move to the next day. That's how it works.
I thought the schedule was.
Oh, they put a lot of junk in.
And I mean, they're actually leaving them there.
There was
People
nothing on
come
there,
back
no,
away.
it was just.
Yeah, there's a lot of
It's
that
not on the
too.
calendar, right? It wasn't on the calendar, that's, I looked
Okay.
before I sent the
The
email.
4th of July? The 4th of July.
Yeah,
but
because
it-
people were
but it didn't-
scrambling.
But it didn't say it moved to Saturday.
No.
Right, no, it
Usually
didn't.
it tells you that,
Okay.
like Christmas, if it falls on the
If it's not on the
Thursday.
calendar, it's status
They'll
quo.
just
It
move
was a
everything.
normal.
I just, because I know in Second Ward, no one had their garbage out on
I didn't
Friday
put
morning.
mine, don't feel bad, I didn't put mine out either.
I mean, I heard
usually do.
the truck
I
coming.
usually do. I says, I didn't hear it come Friday morning. I was off. And then we went away and they probably came, picked up the garbage.
I was just curious, that's
No,
all.
no,
Okay.
that's how they do it.
Okay.
So what are you doing, putting garbage?
Well, they were putting the wood, stuff that doesn't, and not just wood, but stuff that doesn't go in there.
Yeah, we know,
Stick 'em way up high.
like I said, we see a lot of it.
But
Like
they
I-
did
Like I
not
said, I
pick
took
it
a
up.
tour of that recycling plant. There's a lot of stuff that shouldn't be going to that plant.
They actually didn't pick it up, I'm surprised. I really was.
He comes in and reports it to us.
Does
In
he?
case they
Well,
call.
They
He's a
have
good
different
driver.
drivers too,
No,
but the
this
one
one
driver's
driver.
really good.
Yeah.
Cause I got to know him, he's
Yeah.
pretty good. He'll report it.
He comes in and tells us in case they call.
Right, he'll tell you.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
good. That it, Bob?
That's it?
Jeremy? Ben?
Well cleanings for wells 3, 6, and 7 are gonna take place later this week, right, Josh?
What's that?
What's it, the well cleanings?
Yes, they
Yes.
would like to start either tomorrow or Thursday, given the go-ahead.
And it's already budgeted, so
Mhm.
it's all set to go. I just wanted to take a second and update everybody on cable franchise agreement between Comcast and Time Warner Cable. I sent the proposal from the Cohen Law Group to John to take a look at, and he thought that the way that they had structured it was good as far as what they were proposing for us. I asked Denise to give us the amount of revenue, franchise fees that we get in a year from Time Warner Cable. And it's somewhere between, depending on the number of customers that are there, between $28,000 and $30,000. The proposal that they gave us was for $2,500. So just let me kind of explain that just for a second. If you take right now we get 3% of the amount for our franchise fee. So what happens is we could be getting 5. We only negotiated 3 in 2007 when they set up the 10-year process. Now that the merger is coming in, Cohen has talked to us about trying to get a better deal. Certain things that we might be able to do. One of them would be to increase their percentage from 3 to 5%. Now, when I figure the math on it, it comes up to $600. 600 doesn't go into 25, which would lead me to believe that this would not be a good idea to go with them. But if you take that for the rest of the time, which would be the next 3 years, that's $1,800. And what Cohen is suggesting is that currently Time Warner is, and I'm reading from an email that I received from their group recently, that they're certain that there are numerous revenue sources that the cable operator could be required to include in its franchise fee payment calculations that it currently does not. We would need to take a look at that to kind of get a breakout of what they do, so that's going to take a little bit of time. And then I got paperwork from Comcast, because now they want to get in the act too. They want to make sure that we get this through so that they don't have to do anything until 2017. So I received a letter and a booklet from Clayton Fennell, Vice President of Government Affairs for Comcast. And basically what the Cohen Law Group was telling us is that we needed to have a Form 394, which would allow us to go in and ask for certain things with Comcast now that the agreement's coming. Comcast in their letter to us said, nah, that's not really the case. We really don't have to do that. So this is where I'm at right now. I'm going to talk to the folks from Comcast, find out where we are, and then ask Cohen if we were able to negotiate a better settlement with Comcast, where we would be money-wise. Because what I'm trying to do is make it so that it gets us to 5%, that the money either washes or we end up a little bit ahead, so we can ask them to do it, and we'd have a better agreement going forward. And then when we get to 2017, we'd be in better shape with our cable agreement. And it would be structured in a way that we are not making demands, but we are on top instead of the cable company being on top of us. So that's what I'm trying to do. Hopefully within the next month, between all the shenanigans that we'll be doing, that I'll have more information. So I just want to let everybody know.
Does the money, if you raise it past 3%, does that come from the ratepayers or from Comcast?
It comes from Comcast. There's a 5%, up to 5% is what we're able to get of the for our franchise fee. We've never asked for more than 3%. So I can find out where I'm assuming that revenue comes from, whatever the amount is that they determine is the gross revenue that we're going to be paid on. There's certain fees, I guess, that are combined into that. So I need to have that broken out, which I'm going to try and get in the next month. So, and then I can at least intelligently talk about that part of it. So.
And do we have any say with that as far as what services we get from them, as for, seeing it's Comcast / Time Warner, it's gonna be Comcast now, right? I mean, not Time Warner.
I'm not sure the first thing I'm asking for is Nessun.
Yeah,
So
that's why
other
I'm
than that,
asking.
other than that, I
That's
don't
why-
really
that's
care.
why I'm asking.
No, I'm not sure about channel wise as far as what, I'm looking more at it from the money side.
Mhm.
But I certainly can ask the question.
curious, that's all.
And I don't know if we were to get involved with, the Cohen Law Group, whether or not they would have any say in that either. They're more towards the money side of it,
Mhm.
maybe not towards the channel side, but it certainly is something that we certainly could ask for.
When we did the town
We did, I was
contract.
gonna say, we did
Say
the
it
town.
again?
When we did the town contract, we dealt with New York State Public Service, and programming is not negotiable.
Yeah.
Right, that's exactly what they told us,
Where's-
because we asked the
where's
same
Cohen?
question. There was a
That's
lot of
right.
people here that
That's
wanted
right.
Nesson, and they said, we never should have had it in the first place, that it was a
Well,
mistake.
Adelphia was a mistake, right, that's.
It was a mistake.
So I'm just curious, that's all.
And that's only because most of Adelphia's,
In New England.
equipment was in New England.
Right.
Okay.
I'm good, thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Ben.
Yep.
Rick?
We've been working on a couple of things on the Greenway to work on the next development to happen on the northern and southern sections. I've been talking to some interested parties about what those next development plans might be. I'm hoping to get them to come to the next Hoosick River Greenway meeting, so we can further those discussions and hopefully spend down some more of our grant money before we lose it on developing the next phases of the northern and southern sections. I did get a call from somebody who said that they thought the grass on the berm was a little bit high. Neil explained to me why the grass is that high, so I just wanna mention publicly that the runoff that comes off the berm, since it's so steep, we can't let that grass get too low, or at this time of the year it's gonna burn, and if we lose the grass that holds the berm together, that wouldn't be a good thing, so they let it grow a little bit higher this time of the year.
And it was mowed, I spoke with Jerry before the meeting, it was mowed yesterday.
Oh, was it really?
Yes, because
Okay.
I walked it yesterday morning and I asked Jerry, I just talked to him before the meeting, it was mowed today. So
Okay, good.
every 3 weeks he's mowing it,
Right.
that's what he told me, so.
Right, so, and that makes perfect sense to me. And I just wanna mention a few, public events that are going on this month, just so we're all on the same page here of what's going on, for people who might not go to the village website and check out the calendar. Tuesday, July 15th at 7 o'clock, at the First Baptist Church, they're gonna have a presentation, on New York Energy Smart. And they're gonna come and tell us how to, conserve energy and hopefully lower our electric bills, next year. Saturday, the 19th, from 3 to 11, the North Hoosick Fire Department is gonna have a car show, barbecue, and Goober is gonna be there doing karaoke and music. So that should be a lot of fun. Monday, the 21st, at 7 o'clock, at the Cheney Library, they're having a presentation on the history of Eagle Bridge. And a local guy who's a historian, he's gonna come and he's got a slideshow presentation that he's gonna go through and talk about historically about our local community there of Eagle Bridge, and I think that's gonna be interesting. I hope to see some people there. I'm certainly gonna be there. We had mentioned the Hoosick Rising meeting on Tuesday, the 22nd. That has been moved to 6 o'clock. Hubbard Hall will be doing Shakespeare in the Park, Romeo and Juliet, at 7 o'clock that same night. And I wanna mention this too, because this has not been promoted much yet, but Orrin Great, I'm not sure if it's Gratis or Greatest. He's a Metropolitan Opera singer, and he's coming here to Hoosick Falls for a Civicure benefit. And Civicure's mission is to preserve the woodblock, specifically the performance spaces on the third floor. They hope to bring them back, similar to what Hubbard Hall has done, and have ongoing performance space in that building. So their first fundraiser that they're having, Orrin Gratis has graciously offered his services to come and sing for us. And there's also top-level piano player and another singer who's going to be there that night. And Hoosick School has also graciously offered their space over there. So this is going to be Saturday, July 26th. Let me see. I want to say that it starts at 7 o'clock. They're going to have a reception, and then the actual concert starts at 8 o'clock. And then afterwards, they're going to have dessert and coffee and an opportunity to meet the people who are going to come to sing. And this guy's a big deal. I mean, the very next night, June 27th, PBS is going to be airing great performances at the Met. His performance in, I'm going to butcher this name too, La Boheme. Is it Boheme? Is that how you pronounce it? Bohème. La Bohème. I'm gonna learn something that night, I guess, how to pronounce these words. But I do have some handouts here. The information is also on the website. It's $20. They're hoping that people will pre-reserve so they know how many people are coming. And I just think it's great that he's coming to Little Hoosick Falls to perform.
And where's it gonna be?
At the Hoosick School.
Okay, great.
And that's about it.
Okay, great. Bobby?
I just have just a few tidbits from Neil about the highway. Just wanted as far as the milling and paving for the CHIPS roads that are on our list this year, Neil, it was initially set for the week of the 15th, and now you said it's moved back, Neil, correct?
Yeah, it's moved to next week, yeah.
Okay, so it is moved. It was supposed to start this week, it's moved to next week, okay. And as far as the work in Second Ward, where all the water and everything's been marked, that is going to start when?
After we get the milling and paving done.
Okay, and we
We're
will
looking at
notify,
last week.
okay, but we're going to notify the residents, you said some, will go, I just wanna make sure, cause people have asked me, what are these lines and all the spray paint on the road down in Second Ward on Center Street, Hoosick Street, and I just asked Neil before the meeting, I wanna make sure that we are gonna notify the residents, so it's only gonna make our life simpler, because we'll be towing cars away if we don't, if we're down there digging up, and I don't wanna do that unless people refuse to move their vehicles. So I just wanna make sure that people are aware of that. It's gonna be, would you say, probably the last week of the month, Neil, as far as, okay, so the 28th of July, probably?
Where's it gonna be next week?
Well, next week would be there's a list of the roads.
Yeah, milling and paving will start. Milling is gonna be done next week, probably
Oh,
Wednesday, Thursday, and then they'll come back in.
No, that's not in Ward 2B, that's actually where the list of the roads, I mean, it could be all over, correct, Neil?
Right.
That's not necessarily just in Ward 2. But as far as the water line work is being done in Second Ward, and I just wanna make sure the residents will be made aware of that, so that they can get their cars off the street, that's all. But other than that, I don't have anything.
Okay. Kevin?
As far as codes go, got some complaints about some properties down in Second Ward, which I forwarded to Ed.
Okay.
A couple involved mowing, and the other one was an unsecured building, one of our zombie properties. So those
Okay.
been forwarded.
And that should also be, the unsecured property should be forwarded to the chief as well, so he has that information.
Sure. The resident said there's a dead cat inside. The door keeps blowing open, so the cats are getting inside, dying, and it's starting to smell in some cases, so.
I would think.
Zombie cats.
I have
Okay.
a list of, that I went around, actually noticed a couple properties I've been walking around and checking out on not necessarily Second Ward, but found one tonight. There's 5 unregistered vehicles in an unregistered motorboat on the front lawn, and I mean, there's just junk everywhere. So I gotta check with Ed and make sure if that's not on the list, it needs to get on the list. So
Okay.
I'll make sure. I haven't got the address. I'll send it to Ed an email tomorrow.
Okay, good. Thank you.
The other thing is our signs, which never seems to end. Got a final proposal from the sign maker to send to Grandma's Properties for their final approval, and he didn't do it right, so I had to send it back to him with instructions on how to put the trademark on the bottom of the sign. And Ant's also called Grandma's Properties.
I called New York because, of the number of signs, and she, as I think I reported it, she's, checking with the director. It says 2, we want the letter to read the way it's supposed to.
Right.
3. So, a little confusion there.
So
but
we're still
she'll be
hoping to get
calm.
those done by the end of the summer.
Right.
Okay. Good. That it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Old business. Just to bring people up to date, as you know, we worked with Assemblyman McLaughlin, as well as Senator Marchione, in terms of having the Woodbrook designated as an inland waterway. Probably 2 months ago, toward the end of the session, I heard back from them saying that Woodbrook didn't meet the definition, but that the Hoosick River would. So we went forward with having the Hoosick River designated, because it would also include its tributaries, which would then allow for some funding and grants and such to do that kind of work. Anyway, long story short, that bill has been passed by both houses. It's one of 600 bills that are on the governor's desk to be signed. So, and they assured me that as soon as it is signed, they will get in touch.
Great.
And we'll go from there. So I just want to bring people up to date on that. Oh.
Speaking of bills, the zombie property law never get out of the judicial committee.
I saw that, and
Senator Breslin, I talked to him today, and he said they're hoping that it does get out next year.
okay. I'm gonna ask both Assemblyman McLaughlin and Senator Marchione if they voted for it. And if they didn't, I'd like to know why.
Well, I don't know, it never got out of the judicial committee, so I don't know if they're.
But, well, not vote, but I mean in terms of support,
Yeah.
because I did talk to them about it. So we'll see where that is.
Sure.
And then see what kind of corrections or adjustments have to be made, because that's a critical bill.
It's a very important bill.
So that addresses a lot of different things. Okay, just want to make everybody aware that we have a sign-out system now. Sign-out system. Well, we do a sign-out policy for the sound system. All right? And tomorrow will probably be its first use. Last week's concert was canceled with the rain. Hopefully it takes off tomorrow. But in terms of to sign out, you just sign out in the clerk's office, give them some notice. There are instructions that Rick and Kevin have put on it to show how it, the pictures included, to show how to set it up. And it's a terrific sound system, so we're hoping that the bands and the different people that utilize the bandstand will take care of that. If you could, just tomorrow night, if it looks like it's gonna happen, just connect with Bill, just so we can get through that first one.
Yep.
And I think that'll work
I
very
do wanna
well.
mention, as far as the sign-out policy goes, the thing's behind closed doors, so if anybody needs it for an event, you need to pick it up while the village clerk is here.
Right.
You know, and it needs to be returned also, you know, the next day while the office is open.
Okay, thank you. Just quick, the zoning update, our group has been meeting. There's another meeting coming up next week. Bartlett and Logadice is the group that's helping us. They've done a lot of work. They've met with the Rensselaer County planner, so they're making a number of suggestions, so that is moving along. That's one of those things that long-term will have a major impact on our economic development. Doesn't look like much from as you start out, but a lot of work's being done. And remember, this hasn't been done since 1977.
Good things take time.
Indeed. Okay. Ben, do you have any type of an update regarding Snow Street in terms of the different options that were being looked at?
Yeah, I contacted the Environmental Facilities Corporation for New York State, sent them an inquiry as to whether there were any funds that we could generate for Snow Street properties. And I received an email back from the folks at the New York State Department of Health Bureau of Water Supply and Protection. And basically they told me that that the village was currently working on a drinking water infrastructure project that's involved with a revolving fund that the village was using already. There were no funds that were available for that right now because we had spent the money on what we were using it for. So unfortunately that did not pan out. So I have subsequently contacted the USDA. They have grant money that's available, and I just started to talk to a gentleman out of Syracuse. His name is Titus Falkenberg, and we're going to speak tomorrow about, he needs some information about the village. I'm not even sure if I can give that to him because I don't know what he's gonna ask me. But we're gonna have a conversation. He wants to find out if we have an eligible project. So I kind of gave him a lowdown as to what we were looking,
Okay.
what we had as an issue on Snow Street, what was going on. He said that it would take him about 5 minutes once we gave him the information, to find out whether or not we're eligible. So
Okay, great.
I'm gonna talk to him tomorrow, and I'm hoping for some positive results, and I'll let everybody know next month where we're at.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Just again, a reminder that we have vacancies on both the village planning and zoning boards. And I'm gonna be talking to some people about those vacancies, but if anyone is interested, or you know of anyone that might be interested, please let me know.
What's the number, Dave, on planning and?
2 and 1.
Two on the planning, one on the zoning?
Is it?
2 on planning,
Two on
1 on
planning.
Okay,
zoning.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I couldn't pull that one out. Again, just to remind people, we've got LED lights up in a number of different locations throughout the village. You can tell they're like blue, clear lights. We've got some on one side of John Street, in the parking lot across from the library, and over on Mechanic Street.
Look good.
And just, I've talked to the police department, I've talked to a number of different people. I wanna just get people's perspective, if you think they're doing the job or not. Actually, we're gonna have a couple more lights come in that are just a little bit brighter. We're gonna put those in some key locations as well and see where we go from there.
It looked like they give off more light to me, more light to me than the old style. I mean, at least in the stretch by Mechanic Street, I go by there if you go by there at night, you know, by
Yeah.
going up to Dooley's, they're definitely more brighter than they were previously.
I mean, that's great. And considerable cost savings too, once we get going with that.
Dave, speaking of Mechanic Street, there was 3 lights when Naima was here that Neil pointed out that weren't working, and then they told me they fixed them, and they're still not working. I think it's an issue with the new lights they put in during the 22 project. They're making the lights go out. I think we should have those removed or moved to a better spot, because they haven't been working in, how long has it been now? 5 years? We're still paying for them?
We're paying for them?
Sure, even though they're out, we're still paying for them.
Okay, I'm not sure what the process is on how to change light, you talking about actually physically moving the posts?
No, either taking them out and getting rid of them, or put them in a spot that we need them somewhere else in the village.
Okay. What I would ask is that you and Neil take a look at that, and let's see what's going on with that, and just figure out what the process is, because honestly, I don't know.
So they replaced the bulbs, but they didn't check to see why they're not working.
I believe so. I don't know whether they went over there or not, but they said they fixed them, along with the one out front here, which still doesn't work. And I've been emailing the guy for the last couple of weeks, and he said they were fixed.
These aren't on some kind of on-off cycle, are they, Neil?
No, these are.
The ones that National Grid owns, they have sensors on them. You know, it's sort of like ours, we have sensors on ours, but it's on a green box that controls the whole shooting match.
And these lights run parallel to the ones the village owns.
Well, again, take a look and let's come up with a recommendation. I'm sure we shouldn't be doubling our efforts there.
The other lights come on, throws enough light for the other lights not to. Solar.
Yeah.
They like
Could be.
override
It's
the
got
others
a
if it's so bright.
photovoltaic sensor, is that what's turning them on and off?
Yeah, the ones for National Grid.
Right,
So let's find out.
that's probably what it is. One
Okay.
light's coming on and turning the other one off, because it thinks it's sunny out.
All right, speaking of Mechanic Street, just to bring everybody up to speed, the building at 1 Mechanic Street, there was an article in the paper a couple weeks back maybe. That property is now owned by Rensselaer County. I've had discussions with a number of people at Rensselaer County, including the chief financial officer, and I have been assured that they are going to move aggressively on that building. I hope to speak with them, if not this week, then next week again. They're looking at getting a commercial realtor involved, someone who specializes in commercial properties, to move with that property. I've also spoken with the director of the Industrial Development Agency, and he's gonna be working towards looking at getting a tenant or a buyer for that building. So Rensselaer County is saying that they're gonna work with us. I wanna hold them to that. We're gonna make an aggressive move there, and at our next Hoosick Rising meeting, as we start to identify different projects and things to work on, that's gonna be right up there, number 1, right in the top 2. So we'll be moving forward with that. So that's good news. It'll be better news when you have someone in there, but we're definitely on the right track. Okay, just to let everybody know, the bids that were due yesterday for the work on the DEC required work on the sewer line, we had no one, I think I mentioned this before, we had no one submit a bid, so MRB is gonna be talking with contractors and looking at some different options and looking for quotes, so we'll get that moving as quickly as we can. He's also gonna be talking with DEC to see what they can do about this and how they can help us with this. Okay, new business. Just to bring everybody up to speed, both the town board and the village boards had signed a water agreement, and that water agreement will go into effect as of August 1st with the next most recent water billing coming in. That has an impact on 110 out of 120 town users of village water. It also is going to allow us to re-levy unpaid bills, of which there are a substantial number. So that's going to help us out. So it's probably gonna take a little while to see how this works out, but we have adjustment periods built into the agreement. But again, this will be going into effect, and it'll, as of August 1st, and it'll have an impact on primarily residential, out-of-village residential users and owner-occupied two-family homes. The remaining 10 properties that are part of the total of 120 are businesses or multifamily. So we're just gonna wait a little while to see how this works out, and we can talk about doing something there.
I
Okay.
think that you and Mark Sardam should be commended for your efforts in working together to get this to happen. I think that's a huge feather in the cap for both of you, especially yourself, because we had no levying, no leverage whatsoever until this agreement was put into place. I think it's a great job done.
Well, I think it's gonna help our community.
I really do. I
Help
think
our
it's huge.
community. And really, just to, for the record, there were 5 people that got involved and put together a
No,
draft.
And the committee that did that as well, yes, I
Yes, they
understand
did a
that.
tremendous job, tremendous job. 2 town residents, 2 village residents, and a facilitator. And they worked very hard over a number of months. So that's the outline of the draft that we have.
It's great, it's
So-
coming to fruition.
And it's good for 12 years, I might add.
Yep.
12-year agreement. Okay, still under new business, in our business office here, the request is to lease a copier scanner. It is not in place of, it's in addition to, it does other kinds of work that the copier that's already here, which we own, but this separate one is a lease. Up until now, at least from what I've seen, they've had it on a trial basis at no cost. It has been a significant time saver in terms of work that has to be done with the different bills and checks and things
Checks.
like that. Checks primarily.
Checks that you had to lay out and whatnot. I mean, it must save at least an hour a day. It scans the checks.
Scanning's a
Richard.
wonderful thing, yeah, I know, yeah, I mean, believe me, I
Yeah,
use them all
one-
the time, believe me.
Welcome to the 2000s.
So, little by little, we're trying to move forward into the high-tech
I like that. It's
area.
right into the
Okay?
2000s. I think that's great. That's
Anyway,
great.
this, in order to get the least expensive lease rate, we have to look at 60 months. We can opt out of that if needed. As new technology becomes involved, it can be brought in to replace that. So it's not as though we're stuck with a dinosaur, 3 years down the road, because this stuff changes very, very quickly. But again, it's been a tremendous time saver, and it's helped significantly in the office. So I would ask if there's a motion to support this.
Motion?
Ben,
Seconded.
Bobby, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion's carried. Kevin mentioned the welcome to Hoosick Falls signs. Well, one of the things we thought about doing was, once you get these signs, how do you put them up? And these are expensive signs, and they're gonna last a while. And so what Kevin did was he checked with the sign maker who's gonna be putting these signs together, and we got a price for them to install the signs with nice posts, caps on the posts, very professional looking, all of that. And to do that would be $300 per sign. They would do the install, put it in, all of that. So we have 3 signs, so that would be $900. That's a good amount of money. At the same time, keep in mind that we got a grant for $9,500 from the same fund. Okay, it's the same amount. So we're getting 95 coming in. We're gonna look to see us spending 900 to have these signs professionally installed. No disrespect meant whatsoever to the highway department. I'm sure they could do it, but there's a lot going on there too, and they're putting their time to good use. So I'm gonna ask for a motion.
I just wanted to ask, Kev, there is a Hoosick Falls sign already out on Route 22 entering from the north. Are they gonna put the sign in the same place, just take the old one down?
No, I was
No,
looking at
that's
that. It's kind of covered by,
Yeah, it's a little it's kinda out of the way, it's tucked back.
I was
It's a little
thinking,
tough. Now, I don't know if it's gotta be back that far for the plows to come through, and you don't want the plows to kick snow on the thing and knock it down,
yeah. I think we should look for a different location because it's tucked back in where you almost don't even see it half the time you go by.
Right, well, because there's greenery that's kind of grown up around it too.
So why don't you and Neil
Yeah.
take a look at that when the time is right? Okay? So is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Kevin?
I'll second that.
Rick, second? Any further discussion?
Is there a warranty on the posts?
I'm not sure. They're 6x6s and they're
Treated.
Treated on,
Are they
be
wood or are they
painted as well.
polycarbonate stuff?
these are
Like a
wood.
urethane,
He
okay.
says they're dried, so they'll last a long time.
And
Is he gonna put that in writing and say that they're gonna last for 5 or 10 years, or are we just gonna get them
Would
the way?
you like me to ask him that?
I would, I would vote to approve it, but I would like to find out if we can get something out of it and get it in writing. I think it's better than not getting anything, and, you know, something
I'm
happens,
sure it's
we're
gonna
out.
be the same as the signs itself. The warranty on the signs is 10 years.
Okay,
That's fair
I
enough.
just,
if
yeah,
that's-
I
that's
just
what
like
it
to
is,
make
that's
sure
fair
that,
enough.
that they're both in there, that's all. I'd like to
Okay,
protect
so you'll
us a little
follow,
bit if we
follow
can.
up on that?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Kevin.
So we have the first, we have the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's carried, thank you. We have an adjustment on a tax bill. And
yes,
if you would,
25 Willow Street came up before the grievance board and was lowered. So in the general fund, there's a minus $7,710 in assessment, not money, but in the assessment value.
What's 25 Willow? Is it a home?
Is it a rental
That's
property
where
or is
the
it?
old oil company,
Okay.
it was purchased at the
The
auction.
place with the 4x8 sheet of plywood covered this in?
What?
Where is it, Ian?
Yeah, that's a
At
place.
the end of
Yeah,
Willow
that's the
Street
place.
where People's Gas and Oil had the tanks.
It'd be nice if we had some
Oh, at the bottom.
communication between the
Yeah.
boards.
Yep. That was bought at auction for $200.
So that's actually no residence, correct?
No,
Or is-
no,
It's
no.
just that's that
Just
vacant
land.
lot,
Home
okay.
or sewer.
Just
Okay.
land.
Well, I'll make that motion. And we don't really have any choice, right? The grievance board.
Right, it was changed, it's
Right.
just an adjustment to the
Okay.
tax roll, the assessment roll.
Second,
okay, Bobby first, Ben second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
One opposed, let the record reflect. Jeremy has opposed that.
You voted.
Okay, thank you. That motion is carried. We will be going into executive session. We will be going into executive session in just a few moments. Prior to doing that, is there any other business to bring before the board?
Can we do that?
There being none, is there a motion to go into executive
Motion.
session?
Second.
Ben, Bob, second. Any
You have to give a reason why you're going.
personnel? Sorry, thank you. Personnel issues. Yep. In fact, it's right here on the agenda. I didn't read it.
You'll get back to me on that, right?
I will do that.
And
So we had a first, we had a second to go into. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll move into executive session. Thank you.